Remember, Michael Jackson had made "We Are the World," and this is very significant because remember that was about like a lot of poverty in Africa. I think this back in the '80s. That was a lot of poverty in Africa. Hint: "We are the world. We are the people. We are the children." People dying. We're saving our own lives. So, hint as it's written that the Lord your God will bring you back from captivity and have compassion on you and gather you again from the nations where the Lord your God has scattered you. Hint that He will heal our land. Hint the kingdom coming together because remember, as I said, Messiah shall rule the altar in the midst of the land of Egypt. That's why they're doing international travel bans right now. Hint Michael Jackson was the first one to really push the music video. You know, it was like no other videos like it because Thriller was very important. When you understand music video, all it is like the spiritual realm. You know what I mean? And as it's written, I call heaven and earth to record this day against you that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore, choose life that both thou and thy seed may live. Hint the Thriller, the dead, and Yahushua rising up. You see that? Hint Michael Jackson, David Bowie, and Madonna. Hint Madonna is a blasphemy of the bride of Israel. The queen of heaven. And then hint David Bowie, hint David, Messiah routed sprout from the house of David. And then Michael Jackson, come on, y'all. Hint Michael Jackson is the king of pop. Because when you understand the name pop, that all derives from what? Pop derives out of the whole thing, hint of like all it means is like bishop when you think about it. Hint Pope, pop, Pope. And then you see Michael Jackson's the king of pop. Because when you understand Michael Jackson, remember he was the knight. Remember they call him the knight. And I broke that down on the first video. But when you understand when a bishop and the knight come together, they checkmate the king. Hint the whole theme of Satan's kingdom falling. Hint the knight and then the bishop bring forth what? That all brings forth the checkmate. Where do you go? Satan's kingdom ends. That's why the knight had to be sent into full power because Messiah will rise up as the high priest. Hint the bishop is a high priest. You see how deep that stuff goes? Messiah the high priest. Hint why I'm gonna get into the Prince aspect right quick, him and Michael Jackson. So what I want to talk about is what's so deep is I'm gonna go back to Billie Jean and I want to show y'all this right quick. I forgot to show it. And I want y'all to look at that. Just to prove my point about Michael Jackson. Notice he has Ronald's drugs. You see that? And then you see the whole thing right here, Ronald's drugs. And then when you look at it too, hint you got watches, hint time, hint cameras, the whole thing of recording this day against you. Hint Satan was trying to hide behind the wall, behind the stone. Hint Illuminati pyramid. You see him right there by the wall. And then notice Ronald's drugs. Because all Ronald mean is nothing but the ruler's counselor. Remember I already talking about rules with counsel. Hint the whole thing of Michael Jackson being sent, to counsel the ruler. The whole thing of like everything come, and I'm gonna explain it later on. But remember, Messiah, all of this stuff is done. The kingdom of heaven is works because, as it's written, Messiah it would know who denied him and who built for him. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna explain that later on. But I want to show that before I get into Prince. But when you understand why Prince and Michael Jackson didn't like each other, hint Prince, his father name was John Lewis, hint Lewis, and then notice he was the cousin of Lewis Hayes. Remember when I was talking about the name Lewis earlier? I was breaking it down how when you translate praise our God, it becomes Lewis. So you see how all of that comes together.